Yesterday I crossed from from Nicaragua into Costa Rica at Peñas Blanca, which is, I think, probably the most common border crossing for most overlanders. And it was pretty much as described in the forums, so no real surprises there, except that there were tons and tons of people. So the process wasn't necessarily complicated or difficult. There was just lots of waiting for people in line. So it took definitely may have been the longest, maybe the second longest border crossing, just because of that. Exit out of Nicaragua is pretty straightforward. You get your form, you fill that out. Once again, Nicaraguan border personnel was, somewhere between unfriendly, inefficient, and all that. I remember I walked up like police, they would just wave you away. You need to get a signature. And I walked up to this group, and this lady who in the end ended up giving me my signature, but I was just standing there. She just ignored me, was chatting with some colleagues, so utterly unprofessional by, any Western standard anyway. But I guess that's all part of the experience. So you get the forms checked out, and then, you get your tip canceled, and that's all pretty straightforward. Then on the Costa Rican side, there was just a huge line. I mean, must have been hundreds of people going through immigration there, or getting your passport stamped and all that good stuff. And they did have, I don't know, 6 or 7 lines open. I kind of felt bad. I met this guy who was standing in line. He looked, Western, so I went up to him to see if he spoke English, just to see if that was the right line. I needed to get in line, and we ended up talking. And I ended up just staying with him, so I was able to, quote unquote, cut into line. So I kind of felt bad about that. The girl behind me was a little girl. She was, clearly, not too thrilled with that. I gave her a couple bucks, and then I felt bad about that too. So, my bad. But it is what it is. There were tons of people cutting in line right at the front, and I was talking to one of the quote unquote helpers, and they were like, oh, it's $40 and we'll help you. And I'm like, so I talked back and forth, and it turns out they can't really help. They just told me, hey, I told them, let me back up. I told them, hey, if you can get me through this in a half hour, which is what they were saying, I'd give them $40. If it took more than a half hour, between a half hour and an hour, I'd give them $20. And then if it took more than an hour, I wouldn't pay them. This is kind of like the old pay for performance. And they weren't too excited with that proposal, so I ended up not using them. But their idea of speeding things up was cutting to the front of the line, because there was an opening and people were coming in there, just kind of acting like, that's what they needed to do. So presumably I could have done that and gotten away with it, with some people grumbling and all that. But anyway, so I saved some time there. But then, you go to across the street, you get your tip. Once again, I only have a copy of my title, basically a color copy of my title, which is on this waxy paper, so it looks different than a regular copy, but it certainly doesn't look like the original. And the lady there flagged it, and I just told her it was imprimar del original electrónico, and I don't know, after some hemming and hawing, she got the paperwork done. So then you go, down the street a little bit, you stand in line there you pay for your insurance. So that, took at least, 45 minutes there. So maybe 45 minutes at the immigration line, because that line actually moved a little bit. Getting the initial tip there was almost no wait. And then getting in line for the insurance, that was probably another 45 minutes right there. And that too was kind of wacky, because they have you wait outside, and then, eventually you get called in. They issue your insurance for the motorcycle is $37, or just over 20,000. I apologize. I don't know what the local currency is. Cordobas? I don't think that's true, but whatever. 20,000 Costa Rican units of currency anyway. A little over that. And then you go back outside and wait on the other side of the fence, or the gate. and then you come in with your receipt, and then you get the final stamp, and then that's it. And then as you drive out, you get the little, you have to just give the guy the receipt, or the gal the receipt, you know, that you got from immigration. So that part was, again, it was all pretty straightforward and clear. It was just lots of waiting in line. And immigration, they had, like I said, 6 or 7 booths open, maybe even more, but at the vehicle places and insurance and all that, there was only one person each. So they were kind of understaffed there for sure. I don't know. It's Sunday. It was Sunday yesterday, so that may have been why. I don't know. So anyway, I'm in Costa Rica right now, enjoying. I'm gonna take a couple days here for work. The beautiful Lake Arenal here in front of me, and just, you know, no noises whatsoever. It's just so nice not to be inhaling the fumes of the road and all the noise and all that. So this is just like a little paradise right here. So anyway, that was my border crossing experience.